inquiry doesn't just happen to be in the classroom. This was an instance where when you passed by in a hallway, you smelt something funky coming out of one of the lockers, and people were asking, students and teachers were asking questions. What's that smell? Where is it coming from? What is in there? So these are all inquiry questions. So in order to figure out what was going on, we put some caution tape and then had the student head down to the office to get an envelope to ask them to kind of inquire and do some exploring as to what was happening within these particular lockers. Of course, we have to be mindful of honoring students and having good relationship with them before doing an activity like that. But it was an exercise in understanding that inquiry happens everywhere. It's not just something that happens within a particular curriculum subject area. Genius Hour is kind of a movement that you can find tons of information about online that looks at taking 1 hour out of the day within a classroom regular schedule for students to do open inquiry on anything that they choose. This can be really, really fun and exciting for students, and teachers who have implemented it will rave about how the students are engaged and how they can get so much information that they can use towards curriculum. Now, it doesn't mean that you literally have to do 1 hour every single day. Teachers have modified this to work within their schedule because, of course, curriculum still has to get covered. But they've worked around it, and maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week, they would allow 1 hour for students to do any kind of open inquiry. This would yield all kinds of really cool things. Like, for instance, I know a teacher who did this, and one of the inquiries that a student had was she was a dancer. She was taking dance lessons, and this is a grade 6, 7 classroom. And she wanted to learn how to do the leg kick where it comes all the way up to your ear. Like, one leg is on the ground, obviously, and the other leg was all the way up. She hadn't mastered how to do that. So her inquiry was, what kind of exercises and techniques does she need to learn in order to be able to be proficient at that lift? So that was what her inquiry was. So she started talking to different dance teachers. She went online and looked at different techniques. She started thinking about maybe yoga would be good for flexibility, and that's what her inquiry was about. Other inquiry was a student who was really interested in being a neurosurgeon, and so he had this really big question. I couldn't even explain to you what the question really was. I didn't understand it myself, but he had this deep question about a part of the brain that he wanted to inquire about, and so that's what he did. And so the teacher helped him to connect with neurosurgeons that she, through different connections and stuff like that, so he could have first-hand conversation with someone regarding that. And so then it just kind of helped to fuel the interest that he already had. Now, even in a grade 6, 7 classroom, some inquiries weren't as rich and deep as those two that I just shared. Some of them were, I want to know how to make a muffin, because they just never had that opportunity in their home. Their parents, for whatever reason, didn't allow them to do that, or they didn't have the resources to do that. So their inquiry was really just about how to do some basic baking. And what was great about that is that's okay. They're still learning in those pieces. So Genius Hour is a great way to kind of hone in on students' interests, to allow them to feel engaged in the classroom, and to just spend some time doing something that's passionate for them.